Welcome to Civics 101, North Carolina Court Basics. This class will give an overview of the North Carolina judicial system with a focus on Mecklenburg County at times. Information can largely be found at nccourts.gov, but additional information and some direct quotes can be attributed to the original class presented by the League of Women Voters. Your presenters for this video are Charlotte Mecklenburg Library staff members Sally Deason and Mimi Curley. North Carolina operates under a unified court system. A unified court system consolidates separately run courts into one court system that is centrally managed. Article 4, Section 15 of the North Carolina Constitution makes legal provision for the North Carolina Administrative Office of the Courts, the AOC, to provide centralized administration and budgeting services for the state's courts. This provision came in 1965 after the General Assembly adopted the recommendation made by the Bell Commission to unify the state's court system. Pictured here is the 8th and current Mecklenburg County Courthouse, opened in 2007. Both the District Court and the Superior Courts of Mecklenburg County meet in varying courtrooms in this building. The North Carolina Court of Appeals and North Carolina Supreme Court meet only in Raleigh. We will go into depth in the next few slides about specifics regarding the District Court and the Superior Court. The administrative offices of the courts work behind the scenes to keep the court system running smoothly. On this slide, you can see all of the different duties and responsibilities that fall into this department. There is one clerk of Superior Court per county. The staffing level beyond that is up to the discretion of each county. Record keeping is one of the primary functions in this department. When you need to find a record, you need to see the Clerk of Superior Court. This is also the office that receives and disperses court funds. In fiscal year 2021, the clerk handled roughly $600 million. Two of the primary duties that the Clerks of Superior Court have are probating wills, meaning that they determine if the will is valid, and then overseeing adoptions. Currently, we have 673 magistrates working in North Carolina. The North Carolina General Assembly bases the number of magistrates per county on the workload formula. This is not necessarily based on the population of the district. Magistrates are nominated by the Clerk of Superior Court, appointed by the Senior Resident Superior Court Judge, and then managed by the Chief District Court Judge. Magistrates do not have to be lawyers. They must have particular education and work experience expectations met for consideration. Some cases go no further than the magistrate's office. Many magistrates consider themselves the gateway to the justice system in light of the duty regarding initial appearances or pre-trial release conditions. If you have heard of small claims court, it is when a plaintiff requests assignment to a magistrate. The plaintiff is seeking a judgment in relation to money, recovery of specific personal property, or summary of ejectment, meaning eviction. If a party disagrees with the verdict, he or she can appeal for a trial by jury before a judge in the district court. District court judges are elected every 4 years in the district he or she will serve, which is also where he or she must live. As you can see in the map of the North Carolina district courts, we have 41 divisions. Currently, there are 273 judges across the state, with 21 elected for Mecklenburg County. There must be a courthouse in every county for the court to sit by the schedule. The Chief District Court Judge has administrative duties like assigning district court judges to certain sessions, as well as overseeing the magistrates in his or her district. District courts pass judgment on domestic, juvenile, criminal, and civil cases. For each of the case types, you can see some examples of issues brought before the court. When you hear family court, it is in relation to the domestic category. Family court was established in 1999 to create a forum that focuses on the family unit and very best resolution for all. One example of how this works is that each family is assigned particular court staff, including judges, to work with them, creating a level of understanding regarding their case, and it makes for a more timely, consistent, and thoughtful outcome. Only 15 districts, including Mecklenburg County, have a fully funded family court. Interesting to note that in the district court during fiscal year 2020, over 2 million cases were disposed. This includes those cases concluded by magistrates. In Mecklenburg County, the administrative courtroom handles misdemeanor and traffic violations. They have 800 to 1,100 cases per day. Superior Court judges are elected every 8 years by the voters in the specific district he or she will serve and where he or she must live. There are 107 North Carolina Superior Court judges, 7 elected from Mecklenburg County. Judges rotate every 6 months in their division. This is called, quote, riding the circuit, end quote. The idea behind this method was that it prevented any judge from having favoritism impact the judicial process. The senior resident Superior Court judge is the most senior judge in the district, and much like the chief district court judge, he or she is responsible for various administrative duties, including the rotation schedule for Superior Court judges. Superior Courts pass judgment on more serious criminal charges, appeals from misdemeanors, complex business cases, and civil lawsuits over $25,000. If a defendant in a criminal matter pleads not guilty, a 12-person jury must hear the trial. In most civil cases, a judge will hear the case and render a verdict without a jury unless specifically requested by the involved parties. In fiscal year 2020, the Superior Courts disposed almost 250,000 cases, which included over 100,000 felony cases.
The Court of Appeals is the state's only intermediate appellate court. The role of the Court of Appeals is to decide if the trial court correctly applied the law, or if there was a prejudicial error in the conduct of the trial. It decides only questions of law, not questions of fact. Court of Appeals judges are elected and now are allowed to affiliate with a political party on the ballot. If elected, they serve 8-year terms. 15 judges sit in rotating panels of 3. There is no jury. If a panel is divided, the losing party has an automatic right to appeal to the North Carolina Supreme Court. The Court of Appeals handles every case appealed from the Superior and District Courts except death penalty cases, which go directly to the Supreme Court of North Carolina. They hear appeals from some administrative law decisions, like those from industrial commissions and the Department of Health and Human Services. Appeals can range from a parking ticket to a murder case. The Supreme Court of North Carolina is the state's highest court. There is no further appeal from its decisions on matters of state law. It is made up of the Chief Justice, who also serves as head of the judicial branch, and 6 associate justices. Each justice is elected statewide for an 8-year term. All 7 sit together as a panel in Raleigh. The Supreme Court has no jury and makes no determinations of fact, but considers whether error occurred at trial or in judicial interpretation of the law. It hears cases from the Court of Appeals with legal issues of major significance, constitutional issues, special cases, or a dissent in the lower court. Plus, it hears appeals in first-degree murder cases in which the defendant was sentenced to death. The district attorney is an attorney who is elected for a 4-year term by voters within the district he or she serves. District attorneys are not allowed to engage in the private practice of law. Their primary duty is to be elected representative of the state in all criminal and some juvenile matters filed in the Superior and District Courts. The district attorney also sees that appropriate justice is applied. In addition, they are responsible for preparing the criminal trial docket and advising law enforcement officers in their district. The DA's office for the 26th prosecutorial district includes only Mecklenburg County. The office prosecutes about 200,000 traffic offenses and misdemeanors and 10,000 felonies each year. To best manage the high volume of cases prosecuted in Mecklenburg County, assistant district attorneys are divided into prosecution teams that specialize in particular types of cases. The public defender represents persons charged with criminal offenses who cannot afford to hire a private attorney. The Office of Indigent Defense Services appoints the chief public defender for a term of 4 years. Defendants assigned by the court are represented by the Public Defender's Office at the state's expense. Attorneys in the Public Defender's Office handle misdemeanor and felony trials and represent defendants on motions for appropriate relief. The public defender also represents persons who are facing involuntary commitment for mental illness, alcohol problems, or drug abuse, as well as individuals who are charged as delinquents. Within the Public Defender's Office, there are almost 100 staff, including attorneys, support staff, investigators, social workers, and interpreters. The 60 lawyers on staff work in expertise areas, and the client load varies among the public defenders from about 8 at a time to more than 200, depending on the complexity of the legal case. The sheriff is an elected position for 4 years. The sheriff must be at least 21 years old, live in the county, not practice law, and not serve as a member of the General Assembly. The sheriff is the chief law enforcement officer of the county. The duties of the sheriff's office include operation of the jail, law enforcement, service of process, and courts using bailiffs. The Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office has over 1,200 employees made up of civilian staff, deputy sheriffs who are sworn law enforcement officers, and detention officers who are non-sworn officers. Many terms used in court are archaic phrases or legalese. Legalese is one way a skilled lawyer can make a statement more concise while also protecting the client from future battles over word meanings. Certain words and phrases have very specific meanings in the legal context. Judges know exactly what these legal phrases mean, and there is less room for imaginative interpretations. Participating in our country's court system by being on a jury should not be avoided because you are not a lawyer or feel awkward. Jury duty is a privilege of living within our country. Think about what it would be like if there were no juries. Jury duty assignments are legally determined by the state assembly. The advantage of the current structure is that it is completely randomized. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, you may be able to get help from some organizations which specialize in legal matters. It is best to contact them first and see if your situation fits the assistance they can provide. The assistance may be free or on a reduced payment schedule. Even lawyers have to do research, but no one expects everyone to be a lawyer after reading a few online articles. What is helpful is to start gaining an understanding of what is possible and what is too costly or not important enough to go through the court processes. You may also be able to find forms and procedures that will help you move your case along. The Self-Serve Center in Charlotte is an excellent example. There is a lot of free legal information online, but be careful to determine where the information came from. Choose sites associated with government agencies, educational institutions, or trusted nonprofits. This slide gives several ways you can assist our local courts. For instance, all judicial candidates are listed on the Board of Elections website. Before you vote, seek out candidate forums to attend in person, online, or review recorded versions that can be found on YouTube. For another example, the court is funded by the legislature because North Carolina has a unified court system, but only 3% of the state budget funds the courts. Mecklenburg County has partnered with the courts for additional funding as a priority of the county commissioners. But North Carolina is ranked 48th in court system funding nationwide. If you want to advocate for changes in how the judicial branch is funded, talk to your representatives on the North Carolina General Assembly. Thank you for watching Civics 101, North Carolina Court Basics, provided by the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library.